Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Anne Alvares, parent coach, school counselor, and mother of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you notice that sometimes you're repeating patterns that you learned in your own childhood? Maybe you are carrying childhood pain that has not been healed, and you notice that it is showing up in your parenting with your own children. Perhaps you yell or get frustrated easily. Maybe you are directing them or telling them what to do all the time, and you notice that your actions are affecting your relationship with your children. Well, parents, I totally understand this. I came from childhood pain and I learned how to be a relational parent with my children. And I can teach this to you as well. This podcast is all about learning how to heal the childhood pain that we are carrying so that we can foster healthy relationships with our kids. Join us every week for a new show, and we will dive into the healing and the fostering of healthy relationships with our children.
I think we all know that the way we were parent absolutely affects the way we parent. So I have a really special guest with me today we're going to talk about this. It's really important. This is Anne Alvares. She's a parent coach and educator and founder of the Masterful Parenting Program. She has many years of experience, 20 years supporting families. She brings a wealth of knowledge and wisdom as a school counselor. And she's been working closely with teens also. So she kind of knows how their minds work, right? And they're always a product of what we've done in terms of parenting. So her passion lies in helping parents feel confident and connected. I think that's the word, right? Connected. Even our teens, like they need us to connect, right? So through her program, she gently guides parents to heal from their own childhood wounds so they can build strong, emotionally healthy relationships with their children. So this is just such a near and dear to my heart because I know that how we're parented, we bring that stuff in, right? And there is a way to heal it. And that's what you do. That's what your expertise is. So let's talk about how you work with parents, like how you help them to see that some of these childhood wounds they're bringing with them when they're parenting their children.
Yeah, I think there's definite signs that you're carrying childhood pain. So some of those signs are you personalize. So if your child is behaving badly, you think it's a reflection on you. You're like, oh, my kid's upset. My kid's disrespectful to me, right? You make it about you instead of about your child. That is childhood pain. Or if you are overly permissive, because your parents were overly strict with you. And so now you don't have any rules or guidelines. You're afraid to impose anything on your kids. And also, if you have a lot of guilt, if you're carrying guilt about, I'm not spending enough time, I'm not doing enough, that I'm not enough, that kind of mind frame comes from childhood pain because maybe you felt like you were not enough. And so you carry that self concept into your parenting. So those are some of the signs. But I know right away, like when I'm talking to a parent, uh, if they have childhood pain that's unresolved because of the way that they are responding with their kids, and also the way they're thinking, the messaging that's going on in their heads about their children's behavior.
Wow. That's really interesting what you're saying about personalizing it. Because it's really, if the child is having a meltdown and the mom is like, oh my gosh, like, why is this happening? What did I do wrong? Like, instead of saying, oh, my child is really upset right now, and maybe he can't articulate why he's upset. So let me see what I can do and stay calm myself. Let me see what I can do to help. Like, that's so interesting that you say personalize it, because I've never
Yes.
heard anyone explain it in that way. That's really,
Yes.
really interesting. And then the overly permissive, like that makes sense, right? And then
Mhm.
guilt, that's a huge one. So
Mhm.
let's talk about like triggers, like
Yes.
yeah, like just like I think every parent has a trigger, you know,
Yes.
and what is
Yes.
that trigger trying to teach them?
Yes.
show them.
Yeah. Your kids will do something and you will have a response, like a reaction to it, very strong feelings about it. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Let's say your teenager slams the door, right? Because your teenager's upset. And that triggers you because maybe your parents were really loud. Maybe your dad slammed doors, right? Something happened in your childhood. And so now you're back to that 7-year-old that got scared or got freaked out, right? But you're not that 7-year-old. You're an adult. You're a mother or a father. But that just that behavior is enough to set you off, get you angry. And so then you got to stop for a moment and say, why did that make me so angry when my son slammed the door? Why? Where did that happen in my childhood? And what was I thinking at that time? Right. When we are children, we internalize a messaging based on the way our parents behaved with us. We never blame the parent. This is the thing that I know about school counseling. Like, I've counseled thousands of kids. They never blame their parents. They only blame themselves. So if they got punished, they were said, I wasn't good enough. If they were reprimanded, they said, I'm bad. I'm a bad kid. It's my fault, right? That is how they internalize the messaging from us, what we're doing with them. So that's why I'm so against punishing, actually, because I know this internal dialogue that happens, and I had the internal dialogue too in my own childhood. So it took me years to understand where where I was getting this self worth, this lack of self worth came from my childhood, from the way my parents were with me. So that's why it's so important to recognize it, to say, oh, okay, hold on. You got to ask yourself a question. You got to say, my son's behavior, is he communicating something to me? Because it's not about you. Parents personalize and say, oh, my son is disrespectful. My son is doesn't care what I think. It's not really about you, parents. It's about your child. So you need to reframe in your mind and say, stop, like stop and say, it's not about me. And ask yourself, what does my child need right now? Maybe your child needs time to cool off. Maybe your child needs some care, some love, some attention. Maybe your child needs to talk to you about what's going on with him or her. But when we personalize, we don't make the the home safe, because now our children don't want to talk to us because, oh, it upsets mom. Now they're more concerned about how we are reacting than about the problem that they're trying to solve. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's just incredible. And it starts at an early age. But it's amazing to me, like, because you work a lot with teens, and me having like five teens myself, they're all, grown children. Um, like I was saying in the beginning, like they still need us, but they need us to be there for them. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's like you say, it's not about you.
it's
It's
not
about
about you.
them. And it's just, yeah, it's fascinating. And when I hear moms say, he's just pushing my buttons or he's trying to manipulate me. And I hear this, when kids are really young, when they're like 3, 4 years old, I hear parents saying this about them. And I'm like, scratching my head, like, no,
Mm-mm.
no, 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 no. Like
No,
those triggers
that's
are
childhood
pointing
pain.
you. Yeah.
That's childhood pain. When you say my child is against me or my child is manipulating me, that is childhood pain. That is about you. You've made it about you, not about your child. You have to stop and say, why do I think this way? Why do I feel this way? What did I experience in my childhood? Because you're bringing that into your parenting now, right? When you're thinking that way, we should always be coming from a place of, what is my child communicating and what does my child need from me? That's where we have to do the shift, because maybe our parents didn't do that, right? But honestly, it's the healthy way to be with our kids because now we are fulfilling their needs. Our job as parents is to give them what they need, not what they want. I always tell parents this, it's not what they want, it's what they need, right? Like the emotional needs need to be filled so that they can feel confident, so that they feel secure in their families. When the emotional needs are not met, that's when they have insecurity and behavior issues. So that's where we have to start with. We have to say, what does my child need from me and how can I give it to my child?
So is it in your practice, is it challenging for parents? Like, do they finally start to see the patterns? Like, do you
Well,
point out like scenarios? Like they come to you and they're like, my child is doing this. And then you kind of like, I would think that a parent that's coming to you has, well, I think every parent has good intentions, but I think a parent coming to you to try to figure it out, probably like this is probably a lot of light bulb moments, I would think. And it probably doesn't take that long to get there once you start evaluating and kind of looking at different patterns and different scenarios that come up. Is that what you see? Like you kind of like take a situation, the parent brings a situation, and then you start to see the patterns, and then you kind of point it back to, well, how are you parented? Type.
yeah.
Is that
Okay, so I was working with, I will get some resistance because parents are, um, it's a different way of thinking.
mm,
And so you have to kind of change the way you're thinking. So I was working with this mom and she was explaining to me that because basically I said you need to fill up the emotional bank account, right? And you fill up the emotional bank account by connecting with your children daily, right? I love you. How are you, honey? Those kinds of things. And so she was doing that with her son, who's a teenager. She was messaging him quite frequently. And then he said, Mom, you're messaging me too much. And then she was upset, like really upset, right? So I said to her, like, why are you upset? Like he's sharing with you how he feels. Why does that upset you? And I said, when in your childhood did you feel like, because this is rejection, right? In her mind, it's rejection. I said, so when in your childhood did you feel rejected? And then she said, you mean everything comes from my childhood? And I said, yes, everything comes from your childhood. Because if you didn't have childhood pain, you would be like listening to your child. Okay, I'm messaging him too much. He's busy. And you wouldn't personalize it like it's rejection because it's not rejection. He is expressing his need. His need is no, not too much communication, mom, because I'm busy, right? And I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to set you when I don't reply, but I can't reply as often as you're texting me, you know? And so it was a reframe for her. But in the first session we dealt with this, she had a hard time with it because she wanted to believe he was being disrespectful, right? And
mm.
I challenged her on that thinking. I was like, "Stop a minute, when did you feel this before?" And we got into it, how she felt rejection in her childhood. And I said, "That's how you're feeling again. You're feeling that again now. You got triggered by his not wanting to communicate so much." But really, we need to stop it because it's not about our childhood and it's not about rejection. It's about him communicating openly with his mother, whom he loves, right? That's the way we got to look at it.
That's like a total mindset switch right there. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, like you said in the beginning, it's not, don't take it personally. Like I remember when I was raising my first son, um, and I remember reading something like, don't hear the tone, like listen to the words. Like don't take on the feeling of what they're saying, just listen to the words that they're saying and then reframe and answer that. Not feeling the emotion. Like cuz and I think we do this in general with people. Like some people have a tone in their voice that is kind of makes us think, again, goes back to like our childhood, right? If
Yes.
you get offended by a certain tone, like, for example, for me, getting on a personal note here, my dad was like super impatient. And so when someone has that tone in their voice, like it just like I can feel it from when my
Yes.
dad was like that. And it certainly wasn't that my dad didn't love me. Like it
Right.
absolutely was not that. But it definitely like created this story in me, that I definitely like feel a trigger if someone is impatient. That could be my
Right.
son, that could be my husband. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to do with me, has to do with them.
Exactly. But when you are experiencing it as a child, you have a messaging about yourself. You
Right.
say, "Oh, I'm not doing it good enough," or "I'm not fast enough," or "Dad's disappointed in me." Right? Like we have these internal messages that we carry into our adult lives until we understand that actually that message is wrong. That message was about my dad, not about me. But when I was a kid, I made it about me. I made it about the way I am. Something's wrong with me, right? That's where we have to change it, you know.
Especially
And it is,
ones
yeah,
too.
it's about being aware because now, Dale, you're aware of it,
Right.
which is which is the first step. Like once you're aware, you're like, oh, hold on a second. If the person's impatient, it's about them. It's not about me, right?
Right. It's so
Yeah.
liberating too once you can see it in that way. It's just amazing and how the relationship can change so much. So, I
Yes.
mean, we could talk literally for hours, but
Good.
I'm going to encourage parents to reach out to you. So I
Mm.
will put in the show notes and the description how people can get a hold of you. Can you just give us a little bit of an idea of like how long, like, you work with people? Like, is it like a 6-week program? Like, just give us an idea of what your coaching looks like.
Okay, so I mean, I'm very flexible. You know, I've had mothers that they only want a few sessions because there's a problem that came up and they want to help. They need to fix that problem. And then I have parents who want to do my whole 9-week program. So my whole 9-week program is the Masterful Parenting course, and it's 3 components. The first component is let's go into your childhood. Let's talk about it. Let's heal it, right? And then the second component is how do we connect with our kids? Because like if our parents didn't know how to connect with us, then we have to learn how do we connect because we didn't learn it as kids. And then the last part is communicating. Like how do we communicate in a way that our child will hear us? How do we communicate in a way where we're hearing our child, right? So I teach parents how to have a conversation because I've had thousands of conversations with kids. I'm really good at conversations. So I can give you the words. A lot of parents do not know the words because they were not spoken to in that way by their parents. And so I teach the words that you use with your child. This is what
Wow.
you should say to your child. Yeah.
That's like such a gift, such a gift.
Yeah.
I mean, I took parenting classes when I was raising my kids. We didn't have parent coaches around in those days. I mean, I read books and all that kind of thing, but now there's like apps and there's a zillion, wonderful parent coaches that can guide you through the parenting journey. Like nobody teaches you this stuff. You have to go out and seek out the information, and your life with your child is going to be like so beautiful, like it's supposed to be. It's not
Yeah.
supposed to be chaotic and conflict and,
Yes.
connected to your teens and their, you know what I mean? Like it's just, we need your services. And I thank you so much for
Oh,
providing them. So is it this kind of a one-on-one kind of thing, or is it a guided, like people do it on their own? Like in
well,
terms
okay.
of
So the program they run through the program 1 lesson per week, and then they have a weekly coaching session with me.
that's
So they get to and like we get to talk about the lesson. Okay, so what did you learn? Did you tell your childhood story? How was that? And then we go into it deeper when we have our counseling coaching session, right? So that's what I offer with my masterful parenting program. So I find it's very impactful that way because Um, Parents need support, right? Just going through the program may not be enough. They may need might have questions. Like, I have a question about this. How does this work? So that's why I want to give a lot of support. Like, really, my mission is to help parents um, change their parenting so that they can be healthy for themselves and for their kids and raise healthy children. Because when we repeat those negative, unhealthy patterns with our kids, then the cycle continues. So we have to stop it. It takes one generation to stop it. And
Yes.
then once it's stopped, then our generations to follow are going to learn are going to be healthy with their children, right? So we're impacting generations when we change our parenting.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it. So powerful, so powerful. I love it. All right, thank you, Anne, for being with me. It was an absolute pleasure. Like I said, we could talk for hours, but I will put all the information of how to get a hold of you. Parents, grab a hold. Grab a hold. This is so, so important. You can't do it over. Like, now is the time to raise those kids, to build that relationship so you can have a healthy relationship for the rest of your life, and they can have healthy relationships. So it impacts generations, like you said. Thank you, Anne. You're amazing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much, Dale. Thank you, parents, for joining the show today. I hope it was valuable and that you have some useful tools to use with your children. If this show blessed you or changed you in any way, I would appreciate a review on my podcast, or subscribe to my YouTube channel, or perhaps you could even recommend our masterful parenting to your family and friends. Thank you so much, parents.